as a parent, nobody wants to be seen as a bad parent. And, right, it's like that's what people judge you on years later. Not how much you made, not what you did. What do your kids turn out to be like? And if your kids are schmucks, you're viewed as a schmuck. And I don't know how good I am as a parent, but I've always thought a really important thing is the amount of responsibility I can give my kids at an early age will sort of be the grading system. If at 27 years old, I'm still doing my son's laundry, I failed as a parent. If at 26 years old, I don't trust my daughter to go to Europe with a friend by herself, I failed as a parent. I don't know necessarily what makes a great parent and a bad parent. But holding their hand, I know, doesn't create a strong, independent kid. And that's what we're all trying to create. They can do things for themselves. They don't need mommy and daddy in their mid-20s. So tonight, Sam Darnold's going to play, and Sam Darnold's going to struggle because Cleveland has real defensive players. When you're bad for a long time and you draft the defensive side well, you got good players. And the Jets, their defense isn't bad, but offensively, they have nothing outside of Darnold. Offensive line, bottom 2 in the league. Running backs could be the worst. Tight ends, absolutely the worst. Wide receivers, little talent, kind of flaky guys, get hurt, have problems. Okay, not great. At times, depending on health, pretty bad. Sam Darnold's going to struggle tonight. Short week in Cleveland, rookie quarterback. But the Jets are telling you, we think he's physically and emotionally capable of it. And that's the win. Carson Wentz, nobody would deny, has been an A-plus draft pick. He's a stud. He plays this week. He's a stud. And they just threw Carson Wentz out there. That's all I needed to know from Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman. They had somebody else who'd played in the NFL. They traded him. The Jets had Teddy Bridgewater, and they traded him. Carson Wentz, by the way, like Sam Darnold, had an amazing first game. And then in Carson Wentz's rookie years, from weeks 4 to 14, he was 2-9, had way more picks than touchdowns, and his passer rating was terrible. It was like 72. Carson Wentz's rookie year, he had a couple of great weeks, and he went into the toilet. But they didn't pull him, and they were never worried, and that's for an A-plus quarterback. Against Minnesota, 52 passer rating, 2 picks. Against Cincinnati, 3 picks and a 58 passer rating. And he's an A-plus guy. And he was awful in a couple of those early games. And so was Andrew Luck with the Colts. He was awful. And Sam Darnold, tonight and next week against Jacksonville, has an opportunity. He could be awful. Short week on the road, Browns defense. But the Jets with Darnold and the Eagles with Wentz and the Colts with Luck, they're telling you, we trust our kids. The Eagles had Sam Bradford, traded him away. The Colts had Peyton Manning, moved off him. The Jets had Teddy Bridgewater. So good, Drew Brees sees him as the next. Sean Payton sees him as the next Drew Brees. So when I look at these young quarterbacks, the coaching staffs tell me what they think of the player. I don't have to watch practices with Carson Wentz. I don't have to watch practices with Andrew Luck. I don't have to watch practices with Sam Darnold. If you have a quarterback you could go to, Peyton Manning, Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, and you move off him, and you're willing to let them play rookie year, knowing they're going to be completely over their head, not just physically, you trust Sam Darnold tonight and against Jacksonville to go into a game, get sacked 6 times, Jets O-line's awful. I mean, awful. Pro Football Focus ranks it like 31st in the league. That you trust Carson Wentz to get the you-know-what kicked out of him, and you're like, oh, he's a tough kid. He'll go hunt and fish the following day, take a day off, wake up Tuesday morning, come to practice, ready to go. Sam Darnold's going to struggle tonight, but with Luck and Wentz, the staff is telling you, we had a veteran in-house. Nah, he can not only physically handle it, he can mentally, if he struggles, handle it. That's all I need to know. All I need to know about Sam Darnold. Let me shift to this. Jon Gruden stepped in it again. Anybody listening to my show today that's ever been a waitress or a waiter in your life? Anybody listening to me? I worked in a restaurant as a kid. Did you, Joy?
I worked in many restaurants.
Okay. Let's say you've ever been a waiter or a waitress in your life. What often happens, you can sympathize with them. You kind of get into the cycle of it. So if you go to a restaurant after you quit doing that, so you're a waiter or waitress in your teens, early 20s, and then you go do other stuff. Joy did that and did other stuff. What happens is, every time you go to a restaurant after that, you still, when you're done with a meal, kind of clean the table up for the waiter or the waitress.
Start pre-bussing?
You pre-bus.
Right.
You kind of clean the table up for them. Because it's sort of hard to turn that off. It's in you. And it was in you for 8 to 10 years. So Jon Gruden yesterday, once again, stepped in it. He was asked a question about a pass rush. And Jon Gruden gave a long answer and this avenue and that exit and started talking and kept talking. And Jon Gruden did not have to give that long of an answer because that answer became the story yesterday in the NFL. Hey, coach, you had a great one. You let him go. But when you hire a TV analyst who for 10 years is a performer, like Joy was a waitress for a decade, when Joy goes to the restaurant after quitting waitressing, she starts pre-bussing because it's hard to turn that off forever. Jon Gruden for a decade was a TV performer. You don't mumble. You don't give short answers. You explain, you define, you give long answers, and it's hard to turn that off. He has still got television analyst in him, and he keeps stepping in it because he believes he has to give a TV answer. No. Bill Belichick yesterday was asked a question about a book about him. It's got all sorts of juicy details. It's a biography on Bill Belichick. It's the talk of the NFL. But Bill's never been a TV analyst and would probably be a lousy one and felt no need to perform for the media. The football coach who's been a performer is still performing. And this is why I always had questions about Jon Gruden. He's not just a football coach, he's a television star. And he was damn good. And you can't just turn off once you've been a waiter or waitress for a decade, go to a restaurant. You can't turn it off. You always have sympathy for the waiter, sympathy for the busboy, sympathy for the waitress, and you start pre-cleaning. By the way, I worked in a restaurant as a kid for a long time. My kids make fun of me. I'm a pre-cleaner because I've been in those restaurants. I've moved the salt back to where it should be, and I start stacking the things, and I wipe the table down, and the kids are like, oh, Dad. But my kids have never worked in restaurants. Jon Gruden was hired as a TV star. He's a football coach now. But he is struggling to turn off the TV star performer. Belichick, who's never been one, here's the question. He turned it on mute. No reason to give the media an inch. There's a big difference. It's hard enough to be out of this sport for 10 years. But Gruden's going to have to figure this out because he stepped in again yesterday, set himself up to be ripped because he started talking about how hard it is to find pass rushers. Yeah, you just had the world's best and you let him go. Jon, reel it back in. More coach, less performer. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.